Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We will continue our study of Surah Al-Qasas bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and today we'll be looking at verses number 18 all the way to verses number 24. And so in the previous session, the Ustad Amjad was commenting on the cluster of verses that relate to the unintentional killing. And these verses now follow up on those previous verses. And verses 18 to 19, the theme there is about how this incident comes to light. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَصْبَحَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي اسْتَنصَرَ بِالْأَمْسِ يَسْتَصْرِخُهُ قَالَ لَهُ مُوسَى إِنَّكَ لَغَوِيٌّ مُبِينٌ. This translates verse number 18. And so Moses became fearful, watching out in the city, when suddenly the one who sought his help the day before cried out to him again for help. Moses rebuked him, "Indeed, you are clearly a troublemaker." So because of what happened the previous day is that Moses was on alert. And when it says that they became fearful, this indicates to us is that even those who are very close to Allah, and no one is closer to Allah than the prophets, can become fearful. Likewise, righteous people from their ummahs. But here, this fear is covered by a sense of security that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them when they place their trust in Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in relation to that fear. And so now He rebukes the individual who is again causing a problem the next day. He previously had to help him, Sayyidina Musa, the day before, and now here he sees him again causing another problem with another Egyptian. And he says to him, "You are clearly a troublemaker." Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا أَرَادَ أَنْ يَبْطِشَ بِالَّذِي هُوَ عَدُوٌّ لَهُمَا قَالَ يَا مُوسَى أتريد أن تقتلني كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس إن تريد إلا أن تكون جبارا في الأرض وما تريد أن تكون من المصلحين. Verse 19 translates, Then when Moses was about to lay his hands on their foe, yani the man assumed that Musa alayhi salam was going to hit him. The enemy said, "O Moses, do you intend to kill me as you killed a man yesterday? You only want to be a tyrant in the land. You do not intend to make peace." So what comes clear here is that now the Egyptian came to know that Moses alayhi salam, and this is what became widespread, but he was the one who took the life of the Egyptian the day before. And some say that it was actually the Israelite who said this when he thought that Moses alayhi salam was going to strike him because of him being a troublemaker. So then the Egyptian came to know, and then of course he's going to deliver that news to the Pharaoh and those that are around him. So this takes us to the next cluster of verses, which is about Moses escaping to Midian. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ يَسْعَى قَالَ يَا مُوسَى إِنَّ الْمَلَأَ يَأْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ لِيَقْتُلُوكَ فَاخْرُجْ إِنِّي لَكَ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. In verse number 20, and there came a man rushing from the farthest end of the city. He said, "O Moses, the chiefs are actually conspiring against you to put you to death. So leave the city. I really advise you to do so." Some commentators say that this was the first cousin of the Pharaoh. But this indicates to us this believer from the family of the Pharaoh, is that how even in the most evil of empires and the most evil of governments, there will be good people from within. And these are the type of people that we want to be. We want to be people in these hinterlands where Islam is still growing, people who give victory to the prophets, people who help the prophets. And here what does Allah Ta'ala say? جَاءَ مِنْ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ. He came from the farthest end of the city, and he was rushing. So look at the way that he's now giving victory to the Prophet Moses alayhi salam. And he's warning him about the injustice that's about to happen, because now that it has reached the Pharaoh that it was Moses. And keep in mind, Moses grew up in the very palace of Pharaoh. And so they want to bring him in so that they could put him to death. So he's advising Moses alayhi salam to leave. So what is Moses, and what happens next? فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. So Moses left the city in a state of fear and caution. Okay, again, not negating the great state of Nubuwah and prophethood that he had, in caution. And a caution, of course, because now that there's going to be people that are looking for him to bring him to the Pharaoh. And this also teaches us what we're supposed to do when we fear. Prophets turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here he says that, "My Lord, deliver me from the wrongdoing people." So when we're in a state of that being that prosecuted for a crime we didn't commit, or that people that wanting ill for us when they don't even know really what happened, or if we've been framed in some way, or if something has been misunderstood, we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My Lord, deliver me from the wrongdoing people. And then in verse number 22, وَلَمَّا تَوَجَّهَ تِلْقَاءَ مَدْيَنَ قَالَ عَسَىٰ رَبِّي أَنْ يَهْدِيَنِي سَوَاءَ السَّبِيلِ. And as he made his way towards Midian, he said, I trust my Lord will guide me to the right way. The commentators say that Musa alayhi salam, he leaves the Egypt, and he had no provision. He had no animal to ride on. Is that he had no money, and he had no food, nor did he even have shoes. He left immediately, without any of what was just mentioned. And he didn't even know where he should be going or the direction he should go. But this just shows you complete trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Asa Rabbi an yahdiyani. Look at his good opinion of Allah. I trust my Lord will guide me, sawa as-sabil, to the right way. And thus you and I, when we're in situations where it seems like we have nowhere else to turn, it seems like that there is no way for us to get out of the situation we're in, we turn to Allah Ta'ala and we say something similar. Asa Rabbi an yahdini. We have a good opinion of Allah. Allah is going to guide us. He is going to open up the doors for us to follow the right way. And then the next two verses are about how Musa alayhi salam comes to Midian and then helps two women. وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءَ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةً مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ قال ما خطبكما قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. When he arrived to the well of Midian, he found a group of people watering their herds. Apart from them, he noticed two women holding back their herd. He asked them, what is the problem? They replied, we cannot water our animals until the other shepherds are done, for our father is a very old man, and he didn't have any male sons or servants to help him, so his daughters had to take on this service. And out of their adab and out of their modesty is that they would wait for the other shepherds to finish. And what Moses saw was, when this happened, that despite being in absolute need himself, despite all the difficulties that he's gone through, this shows that these are the true people of virtue. Is that even if they themselves are going through very difficult tribulations, they still maintain these lofty principles. They're still willing to help people. They're still willing to do the right thing despite all of the difficulties that they are experiencing. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا. So he watered their herd for them. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّ الظِّلِّ. Then he withdrew to the shade and prayed. فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. My Lord, I am truly in desperate need of whatever provision you have in store for me. So he helps these two women, and not knowing who they are. And after this is that he goes and he takes some rest in the shade. And here again, we see this in the life of Sayyidina Musa. He's constantly turning to Allah Ta'ala, this is how we want to be. Constantly turning to Allah in all of our different states and everything that is that we are facing. And this blessed dua is a dua that we should all memorize in Arabic and understand its meaning. And if we can't memorize the Arabic, then at least memorize the English. And we should use this for all of our needs. This is one of the du'as that they say for people that want to get married, or for people in general who are in need of provision. Because when he says here, khair here is translated as provision. And if you remember, is that when Sayyidina Musa left to Midian, is that he didn't have any provision. He didn't have any work. He didn't even have any shoes. He didn't even know where he was going to eat. And some of them say that he remained 7 days without food. And when he said this blessed prayer, within that one day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him a wife, a job, and a home from the blessing of this job. What is this from the blessing of this dua? Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. He's showing his need of Allah Ta'ala. Oh, my Lord, truly I'm in desperate need of whatever provision you have in store for me. Allahu Akbar. He didn't ask for anything specific. He turned to Allah. He said, Ya Rab, I'm in need. I'm in need of whatever provision you have in store for me, realizing that it's going to come from you. And these blessed, noble states that when we actualize these meanings within ourselves, it leads to abundant good for us as well as those around us. May Allah Ta'ala give us insights into these blessed verses, and may we put them into practice in a way that is pleasing to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to bless us with a strengthened connection to His book in this blessed month. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadan wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.